computer. Welcome to Jesus TV, simulcast on Jesus Radio. And this is the television program called Poetry and Prophecy. And we're with Jonathan McCormick, who has some prophetic poems to share that he got from Jesus. And so, Jonathan, remind me which one we're doing, because I think I had it up.
Let's see.
Carnal security, right?
Was that the one?
Yep.
Okay. So carnal security. Or no, it was the last Exodus. Was the one.
Okay, let's do the last Exodus then. Yeah, I'm good with that.
You know what? Let me make sure, because remember we had a request. Were we going to do the request this time? Or are we going to do a different one?
Yeah, was that Mary? I think, yeah. You said, by the way, we have our first request. Mary said she'd like to do on carnal security. Yeah, that's this one. Yeah, carnal security. That's the one, at least in the email you identified, because I replied how I enjoyed it. And I'd like to do that the next one. So is that sounding familiar?
Yeah, I think so. Let me just double check something real quick.
Yeah, do. Yeah, if it's a different one, that's fine. We can do a different one.
Just a second, I'm sorry.
You're okay. On Jesus TV, this is how we roll. Very informal. I just got done doing some singing in the studio for Jesus. And some of the songs were like the timing, I was off on my timing, but Jesus says, no, they're good enough. Go, go, go. And I know why, because for some of the people that I've got friends in low places, they're like, oh no, that's good enough. But for others, there's going to be somebody else who comes and sings the songs, Jesus told me. So we're going to have beautiful voices that stay on key, and they'll probably take a week to record them. I take minutes, and that's what a prototyper can do. So I call it blanket fort operations. At least that's what Jesus told me. It's like, so you create a blanket fort when you're a little kid. How long does that take versus a full-blown fort that you have to put nails in? I've done both as kids, but the one that's quick is just grab a blanket, maybe off mom's bed, stick it up there with chairs. There you go. You might get in trouble, but you're ready to play. And so that's kind of the nature of Jesus TV. And so you're fine to.
I have a thought about that. Give me just a second. I just want to check this.
No, you check it. I can go on with our audience. And I've had to get used to that, because I mean, I do run kind of slipshod, but Jesus goes like, no, Greg, that's good enough. Now, occasionally, like one song, like, oh, can I go back? And he's, yep, go ahead, go back, because it was so rugged. And I went back and enjoyed it. And then he gave me the voice for like the last song that I was singing was the mashup that Jesus did on Hotel California. Welcome to your part of Jesus' kingdom. And that one, I was like, oh, you gave me a voice, because I sang it not flawlessly, but really good. I'm like, wow. But that's not necessary. But it was, I think, because he wanted to emphasize all those songs you're singing. That's what I took from that message. Like, woo, thank you. Wow, something just happened. And that's what he's been emphasizing. He's been emphasizing, Greg, you've been asking to enter my kingdom. You're building it. You are building it. You need to accept that it's already present. Now that's harder because it's still low, but it's present. And we use others to validate, hey, does this look like Jesus' kingdom to you? And we're looking at others like, what did Jesus tell you? He goes, this is it. These songs are in Zion, early Zion. These songs are going to be used 500 years from now in their present form. Of course not. No, God does versions and he cleans them up and he shines them, but he'll probably have the the Greg version still available because they have that technology. Somebody says, I want to hear how it came out when Greg was singing it. Oh, that is horrible. I see why Jesus cleaned it up. So sometimes he needs to know, like, when a dirty, filthy, rotten, hard-hearted, hopeful sinner did this, what did it sound like? Well, that's Steve Tyler. Are you talking about? No, I'm talking about Greg. They did it nicer than Greg in some respects. But in other respects, Greg's is better because it has Jesus. Steve Tyler forgot to stick the name Jesus throughout that song, or the Eagles did. And so that is what he's emphasizing to me is this is your part of Jesus' kingdom. So I'm a puzzle piece. Each one of us is. And of course, as a puzzle piece, we're made of puzzle pieces. So we have to figure that out. So it's kind of like a fractal, but it is an understanding that I'm having. It's like, if you're ever going to see Zion, Greg, if you don't see it now, good luck, because you only got 22 years here. You're looking for the wrong thing. And so, and what I beheld was the songs I was receiving from God. And what I behold is the like the poems you're doing. Pieces of Zion, to me, they're plugins, you know. These are things that you can build into your part of the Jesus kingdom. And I have this idea that there's all these parts. So like, where's Jesus kingdom? It's right here. Can we put it together? Yeah, that's what you were looking for, but it still exists in pieces. And anyways, that's doctrinally coherent because,
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
so I thought I wanted to touch on what you're talking about, and then I think you're right, it's carnal security. So, but before we get into that, you were talking about, I've heard the phrase used, act as if, you know,
Yeah.
and the idea of fake it till you make it, kind of an idea. And that can be kind of harmful in certain applications, but it can be helpful when you're doing a work of faith. And there was something that has occurred to me lately that I've realized, which is that it touches on what you were saying, and that is that it's like to do anything in the world. You know, there's a lot of people who may not even relate or completely understand with what we're talking about when we say, you know, the kingdom of God or you know, Zion, early Zion, any of those things. It's like it's going to be a foreign language to them. But what they do understand is that it's like they have certain things that may be burning within their hearts, and they know they need to do, you know. And one of the things that I've heard said in podcasts and different places, that it's like I feel like I'm finally kind of grasping the idea of, like, I remember I took a class and they talked about how if you're going to be successful at something, you have to take massive action. And the problem is that, like, what that computed to me in my brain was work hard, work really hard. And I realized, you know, it's like I was broken to working really hard. And so it confused me. You know, it made me, it's like the guy who's stuck in the mud and his wheels are spinning and you tell him work harder.
He's going to push the gas. Yeah.
He's just going to push the gas and he's deeper, you know? And that's me. Like I realized, like, oh, you know, I can't, like, work harder is a bad. And so I would hear them say, take massive action. And these are people that are talking about business and doing different things like that. And I think I finally realized what it was, because a while back I decided I was going to try to write this story. And I realized after a couple of weeks of getting back into the story, I started the story years ago. After getting back into the story, that I was thinking about writing the story, and I wasn't writing the story. Does that make sense? Like, I was thinking about the characters. I was thinking about the.
That's right. Yeah.
And what I realized at the end of it was, like, I kind of put it aside for a moment. I put it aside because I was like, I want to write. Like, I don't want to think about writing. I want to write. I would rather write 6 poems this week than to sit and think about writing that book all week long.
Yes.
And it's like, and And then I started on another story, and I don't know whether it's going to end up the same way, but it's like, for whatever reason, I wasn't quite prepared enough to write that story. And like you were saying, it's like there's something about, no, I realized what they were saying when they said take massive action is it's like you've got to do something,
Yeah.
and then you've got to do it again, and you've got to do it again, and you've got to do it again. It's like you've got to decide you're gonna move forward on something and do it, and then you do it and do it and do it. And it's not like work, like work harder. It's more like do what you can do. It's like, and I'm realizing, like, for me, well, like, the reason I keep putting out poems is because I know I'm a poet. I know, like, this is one thing I can do. Like, I can take an idea that everybody maybe has been looking at in low resolution, and I can bring it in, and I can say it in a way that kind of goes deep quickly.
Yeah.
And it's like that's what I'm good at. There's so many things that I want to do. I was just sitting down before we got on, and I was like, I want the visual side of things. It's like I want to create things like that people can put on their wall, or that people can put on their t-shirt or whatever, but I'm not good at that. And it's like, and I thought, well, I'm just going to make one, and it's like, even without knowing how to do it, I'm just going to do my best, and it's probably going to look bad, but I'm dying for the colors and all of that to add expression to the things I feel. Now, what I really need is somebody, at some point, I'm sure God will arrange it or whatever, but it's like there's probably somebody out there who is good at that sort of thing, and perhaps someday we'll get together. But it's like in the meantime, I can't use my lack of those tools as an excuse not to do it as best I can, today.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
So
That's why Jesus wrote on my shirt, I think, using my hand.
I
Um,
saw that, yeah.
Yeah, so he did that so that I could give expression. It's like, well, if I had a bunch of money, of course I'd hire an artist and somebody to do the clothing. So just give me a Jesus clothing line, please. Well, what if you don't have any money and you're pretty busy being a handyman for Jesus? Well, here's something we can do. Boom, and we
With a
did it.
Sharpie
Like,
marker.
well, it's a Sharpie, and well, that's kind of disturbing to people. I remember Jonathan was mentioning, like, whoa, I saw that shirt, and it's shocking. Well, yeah, but the shirt wasn't for you, it's for me. And of course Jesus said that's both, because one of the things I've realized he does is he'll put filters upon his work. These are encryptions, so he'll encrypt his stuff that only the charitable people who are going to suffer
Yes.
long, and they say, okay, I'll suffer this. I'm not going to judge. I'm going to try not to judge this guy. His freaking shirt's like weird though. Why? What does it say? It says Jesus is bossing this job. Ooh, that's mind blowing. Well, no, but how he wrote it, if that was done. So you have to get used to different with Jesus. Otherwise, but you don't have to. Jesus says, yeah, just stay away from that guy. And so a lot of people do. And that's what Jesus wants. I'm not trying to push people away, but Jesus is. And that's what I realize is that he knows what his children need at different times. So something that,
Yep.
like the shirt, there may be some person who said, at first I didn't get that, but later they're writing on their shirt because Jesus says, now you need to do this. And they're like, I never thought I would ever do this. Or they get the idea, then they go to the silk screen and they've got money, or Jesus gives them money, and they find that they're doing the same thing. I need also to be reminded that Jesus is bossing this job. I have to have a shirt that I can look down and go, oh, that's right, Jesus is bossing this job. And so I had to accept, like you go back to identity, I had to accept who I was. And that's what Jesus was trying to tell me. And he's through many ways. Now I hear it. You're an architect and engineer. What do those guys do, Greg, when they're doing something new? Oh, they prototype. And what does it look like? Pretty slapdash, Jesus. I mean, I've seen prototypers. I've seen university professors who share their stuff early. That doesn't look like the journal article. You know what it looks like? It looks like my stuff. And you're like, oh, all the university professors should be forced to share their stuff when it looked crappy, or just a rough idea. But I only had one professor who ever did that, and he had us edit his stuff. but I'm like, oh, this seems so reachable. I can do this work because I'm doing this kind of level of work. And that's what he was trying to show us, that the professionalism comes by reworking and reworking and reworking until all the messy practice is gone. And that's what people are used to. They're used to things cleaned up. That's the formal systems. And segueing to our thing, that gives carnal security. So when you go see your doctor, you don't want to have him say, to repeat a phrase, I don't really know what I'm doing here. I mean, usually I don't. But that's good. I want to keep an open mind, but this actually disturbs me. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Zip it up, because now that's freaking you out. And you came in because you have heart palpitations. Well, there could be something serious, but I don't know. Let's do some tests. Why? I don't know. That's just what I do. And like, this looks slapdash. And the doctors don't do that. They remove the messy practice, and they just go, I am God, and I will determine what's wrong with you. And I only have 15. Nope, I got 12 minutes to do it because we're on HMO. And so they don't have time to be fully transparent, because you're going to have to do a lot of cleanup. And so the informal naturally is a repellent to much of people who are used to formal systems. But those formal systems give us a carnal security. We can rest assured, I've seen this before, this is reasonable, okay. But it's not where Jesus has taken me and a lot of his people. He's saying, get used to different. Like in The Chosen, I know he's not just speaking to Greg. I was already getting used to different, but I still hear him saying, if you're going to roll heavy with me, deep Jesus, in the way you'll have to in the end of days, you're going to have to get used to some really things that seem really wild. And here we are on Jesus TV, supposedly.
Yeah.
Wild. Okay, Jonathan, I'll give you the talking stick.
Should we do the poem?
Yeah, we'll do the poem.
All right. So it was the carnal security, right?
Yep.
All right. I'll read it through all the way first. Peace is a gift, however it comes, and thank God for it. But today, I'd like to rock your boat a little by saying that not all peace is God's peace, and not all peace will lead to him. For there's a kind of peace that leads one to trust in earthbound hopes. And this peace is called carnal security. And it is fine as far as it goes. After all, it is not good. Is it not good to be content and grateful for the job, the social status, the wife, the children, the car, the house? Surely. And ingratitude is far worse. But what happens when these are stripped away? Only then do we discover that perhaps our peace was less founded upon the infinite and more upon the finite. And only when we are thrown upon the naked hand of providence do we know whether our peace was eternal rest or carnal security. Likely both. And only through pain can the lesser peace be sifted out, till nothing but that peace which surpasses understanding remains. And as for love, God's love is no less elusive, for only in betrayal do we discover whether our love remains when theirs dissolves. For there is but one peace, one hope, one love that is eternal, and the path to obtaining it is a winding upward road to the hill of a tailor-made Golgotha, tailor-made for each of us. And isn't it terrible to say it outright like that? I feel as if I have broken with some unspoken societal contract. But isn't that what we always said we wanted when we sang, I have decided to follow Jesus, the world behind me, the cross before me, no turning back, no turning back.
Ooh, yeah, I love it. Yeah, that's good, Jonathan. I was actually, as you're reading, I was like, God, you're so good. I got this. I was going to call it Lame-O Jesus TV, but it's like it's not, because it's from him. So, but it's informal, and to have your formal gift, it's like I talk about the songs. I'm waiting for the singers. Yeah, because my voice is limited in terms of its appeal, which I'm fine with. I like my voice. Jesus likes my voice. Yet still, it'd be nice. And also, Jesus says they're coming, that there'll be male voices and female voices, many, these songs. So it's nice to have things that are upwardly lovely, that, this poem could have been a little more ramshackle and I'd probably still enjoy it, because I do things like that. But this is really, really well composed. And, I have to admit, some of my writing's the same. Jesus will have me work on my writing, scripting and so forth. But that's one of the first things I wanted to say about this poem. And it's reference to this television program, Poetry and Prophecy, or is it Prophecy and Poetry? It doesn't matter. I haven't even mentioned the episode. I think we're on episode 4. Do you recall?
4, yeah, pretty sure.
Okay, that's what I think so too. We'll label it. And tell them your website. I'm trying to get those preliminaries out of the way.
Oh yeah, thetracklesspath.com.
Yeah, and you can see all of his poetry there. We're just doing one poem a week right now. If Jesus wants to speed it up or slow it down, we'll just relent there. And I post these on Jesus TV at www.getmorejesus.com, which is what Jesus tells me in my prime directive: get more Jesus, also called the love of God, until I love him with all my might, mind, and strength. So for the rest of my life, I'll be doing what I can to do that. I also then post these on Facebook. Oh no, YouTube. That's what I reference, and then I'll link to them in Facebook, so you might see them there. That's why we give the websites, and so we got the Jesus TV covered, and Jesus Radio. So it's kind of like a simulcast. And let's see. Okay, now I want to go back and look at your poem line by line, if we can. Jonathan, you
Okay.
take over.
All right. So peace is a gift, however it comes, and thank God for it. So the preliminary, that's kind of like like I'm going to say something that is, I want to give like a caveat to before I say it. That's why I said peace is a gift, however it comes, because it's like, it seems totally appropriate to me to have all those things which I mentioned later in the poem, job, a house, a family, all the beautiful things of life, and to be grateful for it and to be content. And thank goodness for that kind of peace. But, and now this goes to line number 3, but today I would like to rock your boat a little.
Yeah, and I liked that. So it's like the third line. I'm like, oh, well, that's it was like I don't know, surprising, I guess. But I liked also your first and second line, how they frame out and echo, what you're going to say later. And it's a very balanced approach. And it's important for me, because sometimes when you're saying one thing, you're also then not saying another. And because you're saying the one thing, it looks like you're giving shrift to the other.
Yeah.
But if as the Bible says, if there be two things, one be above another. So there is a preeminence, and we have to recognize that. For instance, the infinite has preeminence over the carnal, although carnal has a place, but it has to have its place below the infinite.
Right.
But the infinite might be, like you say, some pretty carnal things. God gives you land. Hey, here's a promised land. Well, this is real. This is like seen, right? It's carnal. It's appreciated by the senses, but it has infinite purposes. And so that's why it's difficult to sort these things out. But I like your poem. I like that it has that balance. So go ahead.
and so, and just on a personal note, I won't go into the details of what happened to me that made me, um, that that kind of brought this knowledge that I conveyed. Um, Here, I won't tell the exact story, but I will just say that it really rocked my boat when I realized the thing that I'm talking about in this. And given I always, it's a principle we all know. It's like, oh yeah, carnal security, it's like that's not good and stuff. But I still want my boat, my house, my, and all the people to like me. It's like, yeah, I know it's probably carnal security. Like I think actually most of the time, for those who are doing well, like they don't even realize that it's carnal security. Does that make sense?
Yes,
It's like no, these are the blessings of God, and I'm doing well, and it's like this isn't carnal security.
yeah.
Go ahead. Were you going to say something about
No, I
that?
love it. No, that's exactly right.
No?
And then you say,
Well,
until it's taken away, then you can, when it's stripped away, now how you feel? The same? God giveth, God taketh. And I'm like, no, I actually feel worse now, Oh, where's your, and so you're right. I go ahead with your poem, but it's well said.
well, I would like to just hit on one thing, and then I'll go on. So at the time that this happened, without giving details, the time I realized this, it was a real revelation to me. Um, because I'd been kind of on a wilderness path, and I'd been, feeling led to do certain things, to go certain places. And it was like, and the only reason I was really on that path was like I had so fully failed at trying to do everything right that it was like I finally was like in that place of like, God, like the spinning of the wheels, it was like, okay, I'm fully stuck. I need you to tell me. And he's like, okay, you just got to do everything I say, like bit by bit. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying to follow God. And of course we're imperfect at that, right? So it's like, we're going to try to do what, is of God. And we're going to realize that maybe that wasn't God. But, you get to know his voice better and better. Well, okay. So this one day, it was like, to give a brief explanation, it was like I had a financial problem. Anybody who's known me in the past will be like, no, not you, Jonathan, not a financial problem.
When haven't you had a problem?
Yeah, right. It's like for like quite a long time. And so it was like, I was like, oh, what do I do? And I was walking along, and I had an idea come of something that I could do to solve the problem. And of course I was feeling some anxiety. And like when I had this idea come of what I could do, like all the anxiety just like drained right out of me. And like I just felt like total peace, like, oh, that's right, I can do this. I've done this in the past to make some money, and it would, and right here's an opportunity, and I could do it, and I could, you know, and then like I was walking along, and it was like, and the voice kept going, like, that's right, and this would just solve all the problems. It would just, it would do this, and it would do this, and all of a sudden, like, I realized like it was too big. Like this little idea I had of a way to make some money was now promising me that and I had already gone down the road of making money that way, and I knew that it didn't solve all the problems. And so it was like all of a sudden I had this moment. I was like, wait a second. And I was like, and I realized like, wait a second, if I were to go full in, like this voice is telling me on this thing, like it would sabotage this path that I'm going down, that I know is like I'm feeling led of God on, like, and I feel like, the heavens desire that I continue, and like, and all of a sudden it so wigged me out that it was like, wait a second, but I just felt peace. I just felt, I'm praying like,
Yeah.
what? Like that felt like I had all this anxiety and it just drained. Oh, and I just felt total peace. And I realized like it was like, and then like that little still small voice was like, carnal security.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh. So there is a peace which makes promises,
Yeah.
and it promises big.
Yeah.
And the world's riding on these promises right now.
Yeah, and they
You
named it
know?
in our country the American Dream, right? I mean,
Yes.
that's the global name for it.
If you just go to school and do this and do this and do this, you'll have the American dream. And
Yeah,
they're like, oh, and so they spend, 8 years in college, like in total peace. Like,
yeah,
I'm okay. I'm
yeah,
getting my degree. I'll be fine. And then they get out, and it's like nowadays, of course, it's like you got a PhD. It's like good
yeah.
luck. Good
That's
luck at
right.
your job at Starbucks, you know? And
Exactly.
they're like,
Yeah.
wait a second. Oh.
Yeah. You promised. Yep. Yep.
Okay, sorry, I'll read some more.
No, that's good. Yep.
All right, so but today I'd like to rock your boat a little bit by saying that not all peace is God's peace, and not all peace will lead to him. For there's a kind of peace that leads one to trust in earthbound hopes. And this peace is called carnal security.
Yeah, I
And
like
it's,
that
go ahead.
when you that when you got to that carnal security, I thought, oh, that is a good definition of carnal security, earthbound hopes. Yeah. Rather than hope in Christ, it's
Yeah.
earthbound, and we know what those feel like, and they do feel good. So you're acknowledging, like, yeah, otherwise the devil wouldn't have anything to tempt us with. Like, that doesn't bring me any level of peace. No, it does. It's a kind of peace for sure. Yeah.
Well, and I want to say too, I think this is important to touch on because of what you just mentioned, and that is that God does make promises. And it's like I think I'm giving a caveat before, it's like we throw Jesus and God out a lot in this program. And it's like I've had a sense that the message I have is for the world. It's like there are probably people who aren't even comfortable yet with the ideas and the way we're looking at all of this. And that's fine. Like if you can only go as far as to say there's something out there bigger than me, like fine. Whatever that is, it's like I want to, you were talking about how it's like our hope is in Christ. And I think just one caveat I want to give to that is that God, or however you view that, the higher power that is more than us, it's like, I'm going to say God. So God, like he he does make promises that have to do with things of this earth. Okay. So like one of the things that I've come to realize is it's like a lot of times religious people, those of us who've been raised with a religious background, we get this idea, and it's a correct idea because we have to have an idea of preeminence, like you were saying earlier. What's more important? Well, the kingdom, like the thing that comes after this life, the thing that is not earthbound, right? So we're trying to get that straight, and we're trying to put that first, but that doesn't mean that God does not have in mind the things which are earthly.
Yeah,
And
well
it's like,
said. That he's created a kingdom, uh, a beautiful kingdom that will produce results that
uh-huh,
are of God. They're just lower. So the earthbound promises have their limits, just as the heaven ones do. The heaven, you only get those heavenly ones if you seek them, because that's what God's pretty clear on that. Ask and you shall receive. Well, aren't you just going to give them to me? No, here's the thing. You got to ask. Well, what kind of parent would do that? You should be shoving cookies down my throat. If you got cookies, no, you need to ask. We use our words. And Jesus does that too. That's what I realize, like, you have these rules for your kingdom, but we're your children. Wouldn't you just give us good stuff? And he's like, look, so there are earthbound things that, yeah, drink water. It relieves your thirst. It sure does. Now, what about that water that I'll never thirst again? Do you want it? Well, what is it? Ask and I'll tell you. Well, I don't have time for that because I've got to get some more water. And so you receive the lower blessings because that's all from God. If it's lovely, good report, or praiseworthy. So I like what you're pointing at, and I fully agree. It's what God's put into my heart. And I like that occasionally you'll pause our episodes to just talk to these people who don't have a Jesus tongue like me or God tongue like you or whatever, because both you and I are of the mind. You don't have to use those words. That doesn't have to be the entity that you serve. we understand that that entity is God, but if you call him Allah, that's fine, the universe, or you call it a she, I'm comfortable with that, because under Article Faith 11, within our faith, we claim the privilege of worshiping Almighty God according to the dictates of our own conscience, and allow all men the same privilege. Let them worship how, where, what they may. And when they go through a poem, their particular orientation with their conscience, they're like, well, here's how I interpret that. So they may have just went through AA, and they learned how to turn their life to a higher power. They weren't even really realizing, but now they know there's a higher power. Well, do you call that Jesus? No. Do you call it God? No. What do you call it? Higher power? Oh, okay. Well, that's what we're talking about. So we're on the same language. If that freaks you out, well, then bye-bye, because we do have, Jonathan and I, our limits. We believe that everyone should be able to worship God according to the dictates of their own conscience. And that's where I'm pretty comfortable. Like, no, they're not even watching. Some of those people are just like, you triggered me by saying Jesus. Well, you're not going to trigger me by saying,
and then if they do, then it's like it's not for them.
yeah, it's not
it's
for
like,
you.
yeah, it's like, unless it's like there's, because I think in the space that you and I are going to work, it's a place of charity, like you said.
Yes.
It's like we all come with our different backgrounds, believing that somehow the divine is going to lead us eventually to see eye to eye, but we are okay with it being eventually.
Yeah.
That for today, we don't totally see eye to eye, but we're going to take what good we can get, to spite our prejudices, to spite our misunderstanding. We're going to look past those.
Yeah.
Did I interrupt your thought? Did you finish what you're going to say?
No, that's exactly the thought. It has a spirit about it that's familiar in democracy as graciously conceived, where there really is an openness. Let's talk about these things and not get caught up. Well, I'm a Democrat, or I'm a Republican, I'm an independent. Well, let's just talk about the ideas. Let's look at the poem and say, is there anything in there for you? And then discuss it. So right now, you and I, from a Christian background, well, that kind of limits us because we don't have an atheist with us. But you could have an atheist club who goes, hey, let's look at this poem. And they could find abundance in it if they had charity. And they go, well, that's how they're looking at it. But not everybody can do that. And I also respect that. People who maybe see the world more black and white, and they just like, no, I can't participate. And that's fine. There'll be a home. Jesus will create a home for you as well, that for a time. But generally, well, anyways, that's the limits, is basically, I don't belong to a cancel culture. I belong to the other cultures. Like, hey, devil, you got something to tell Jonathan and I? Our door's open. What? You would let my door's been open to him my whole life. Are you kidding me? Yeah. And Jesus keeps it open. I can't close that door. If he ever made me as strong as Captain Moroni, apparently I can close that door. And if everybody could do that, then we'd be done with the devil. But that ain't my situation. I'm a dirty, filthy, rotten, hard-hearted, hopeful sinner. The door's still open. So if he needs, but a lot of the stuff he proposes to me is stupid. So like, no, not interested. It's kind of like what you're talking about. Oh, I feel so secure. Then you start thinking about it through the Holy Spirit. That's not security, Well,
and so here's what I think I was trying to, so we'll get into this more as we get a little bit more into the poem. I'm going to say one thought and then I'll read some more, but just, it's like, it really is a time when heaven and earth are coming together.
Yes.
Like, we're like, temporal things and spiritual things are going to be hard to, and it's like, and I kind of, what occurred to me is as you were talking, that I realized is, it's like, I wonder if it's like the difference is what the source of our security is, even our temporal security. So for example, like, if I believe that I'm going to have food today, do I believe that that's the case because I trust that I can go wash a window? That's one of the things I used to do. Right. Is it because I trust that I can turn a dollar? Is it because I have proven and God has shown me that he will feed me? And so now it's and so all blessings, it's like, if I need a car, a house, whatever, and so like, God does make promises about temporal things. It's like he promised Abraham a son, not just a spiritual son in the next hereafter, but like a birthright in the flesh son. He promised him actual land. You know, he promised him certain things that had to do with his temporal existence. Um, and you think about Joseph sold into Egypt, who became ruler over all of Egypt. It's like the blessings of God incorporate the temporal,
Yes. Yeah.
but if you focus on the temporal and you put your security in that and you give it preeminence, well, then when it falls apart, you're in trouble. But if you've given God the preeminence, then when the temporal falls away, let's read some more of the poem because I think it'll get into this.
I
So,
think so. Yeah.
um, so and this piece is called Carnal Security, and it is fine as far as it goes. After all, is it not good to be content and grateful for the job, the social status, the wife, the children, the car, the house, the husband? Surely, and ingratitude is far worse. But what happens when these are stripped away? Only then do we discover that perhaps our peace was less founded upon the infinite and more upon the finite. Only when we're thrown upon the naked hand of providence do we know whether our peace was eternal rest or carnal security. That's probably a good place to comment. Do you have any
Yeah.
thoughts there?
Yeah. I just thought of, because I'm musical, I have a musical universe. I pay attention and reflect on these music artists and seen them when they were younger. Now I see them when they're older. And I think all of them have gifts from God, the ones I listen to. And that's an infinite thing. And it's appreciated as a gift. And they still have that gift. What they lose, though, is kind of like losing money. It's like losing um, a security. And usually they have enough money. Is what they're losing is the prestige they used to have in the game, because it's a young person's game to
Right.
rock and roll. So all you got is a bunch of older people who oh, you're the bomb, but you put out new albums, nobody's going to listen to them. And you're putting out stuff that it's as good as when you were younger. It's like, it's got to be frustrating when the environment changes. You and I talked about how the earth changes, and then the same things that used to work for you, because the situations change, stop working. And so where did you put your hope? And if your hope was, you know what, I just like music. I don't care if I make money.
Yes.
I don't care if I've got fans. I just simply love the songs. And it's okay if you're human, you'll still like getting up and feeling like a god, and everybody goes, oh, you're the coolest. But if that's where most of your energy is placed, so I see some of these artists struggling with that, because you'll catch these little things they'll say in their documentaries, and they're kind of like angry about it, kind of like women in Hollywood who, boy, they were just so beautiful, and then men their same age, they're still producing. Oh yeah, men. And they start seeing what they knew was always going to happen, is you're no longer 18, 19, 20, Julia Roberts or other women. And so now you're going to play different parts. And it's like, but isn't it all about the acting? Isn't that what it is? And because that's the infinite thing, that's the gift. And
Yes.
and like you say, it gets revealed. But it's something we can work on, and that's what God has been having me do. He's been practicing with me to just enjoy singing with Jesus, and strip away. So when I go out street preaching, how many mortals are on just me, and I'm having more and more fun. I'm like, I hope nobody comes, because they'll spoil it. Now I have to attend to them. So otherwise, I just imagine there's angels. I got my Facebook Live. That's enough. But I'm finding just joy in worshiping God in these songs that He's given me. And I'm like, and I know that's His training. I know He'll eventually bring people, because that's what He does. But
Yes.
I'm less and less, I don't care about it. And I'm like, that's where you go as an artist, where you're just like, you can just sit and play, your audience, maybe you still need one. but it's maybe the old folks home. You go, well, I'm kind of old, I'm just going to go play. And there's an old guy like me, maybe at the old folks home. No way, it's Dennis D. Young. Yeah, I like playing. I just, like, wow. And so, he gets me, but that's not what he's doing. He just he likes performing, and he doesn't require. And that was, there was a time I cried when God showed me this. And I mentioned Dennis D. Young, because I really like his heart. He's a Catholic, he's a God believer. He wasn't very popular in Styx because that's what he could sing, these kind of tamer songs, God-oriented songs. And I think that had to be part of why his bandmates dissed him at one point when he had some health problems. But what I saw one day was he was at this was a documentary, and he was at a carnival, or no, a county fair somewhere. And his son, who has a band, not a famous band, was playing. And so he was trying to support, you can tell he's trying to support his son, So he's there, and people were talking, and he got irritated because he's a total performer. And he barked at him, hey, we're trying to do something here. But tears came down my eyes because I'm like, I love you, Dennis D. Young, because you will lower yourself. There's some people like, nah, I'm not going to go to a county fair. And it looked low budget. It looked, compared to Styx with all the lights. There's no lights. It's just, but I loved it for that. And it was pointing my heart to what I need to do. Is you see what he's doing? He's using that musical talent he has to lift his son up. He's not there trying to get a bunch of money. Nope. He's not there thinking he's going to produce a new album with Styx. No, he's accepted, with some fights. He still fights a little bit about that. Doggone Styx won't bring me in. I mean, I was and he was the kingmaker, like Freddie Mercury was, quite a bit anyways. But anyhow, that's how that's one way to program what you're talking about there. Is where is your security, but also where's your hope? Where's your love? What are you loving? And there's kind of higher levels, and most people would recognize if you're just loving the gift, strip away the money, strip away the fame, and you can be Julia Roberts. And what are you doing? Oh, I'm acting in some independent films. What are they paying you? Oh, $500 a day, like nothing compared to what she used to get. But she goes, they cover my travel. I stay in a hotel with my husband and my kids now. And it's fun because I get to act. I'm going through the scripts. I would be so happy for her because I say, yes. God bless you, because you still are a beautiful woman, but not by the world's standards. You lost it. You lost your thing. But I want happiness for her. That's what God would want. Just be happy. And don't be like stuck on glory days. Oh, look at this and how cool I was. Accept the change. Anyhow, that's got a big energy, because that's the training that's inside that God's been doing, because he's had to retrain me out of that so that I can embrace him without accoutrements, without the things, prestige, money. If you take those out of the equation, you can roll a lot faster, You're just like, that song's good enough. Well, that sounds not very good. And in my mind, I know what people sound like. Like if Fleetwood Mac hasn't got together for 20 years, they play their own songs. And guess what they sound like the first time? They sound pretty bad. They're off key. They're, but they like, well, we haven't sung that song. They have to have their sheet music. So I give myself a big bit of grace and going, no, you're doing good, Greg. And I can feel Jesus's love. No, that's good enough. And it's my request. Can I do that one again, Lord? But he's just like, keep it going, because you're not the rock star. You're a roadie. And like, I understand that, and that helps me, Jonathan, because then he's taking that to do other things, a multitude of things that most people like, boy, you've got a big piece of a puzzle. Because I do, it's part of the cultural thing, but I can't go deep on a lot of it. Because there are certain things I have to go deep, and that's what I'm doing with you. Is like poetry. So go ahead.
Wow, you said that so well. It made me think about that little green book that I wrote years ago. It was really like after having written it, I realized now it was saying kind of what you're saying in a sense. It's like, and that there's hope for anybody who does anything for the love of the thing itself, for the love of the art of the game for the love of anything but just purely the profit. Because it's like you do a thing and then it brings you something. It's like like if I do something in the world, if I grow tomatoes, well, eventually, even if I gave my tomatoes away, it would bring me friends,
Yeah.
you know? And, but if I was growing tomatoes solely for the sake of friends, or if I was growing tomatoes solely for the sake of money, or solely for the sake of the praise of the county fair where I get the blue ribbon and they say, you're the best tomato guy. It's like, if that's the only thing in my heart, then it's like, there's there's a deep-seated evil in that.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's in all of us, because all of us love the blue ribbon. All of us love, but it's like what it feels like the infinite desires to do with us is to get us more and more away. That's why he likes, like when he has a tree that he loves to prune that tree, just strip away.
That's right.
It's like, well, I know you love, what do you really love? Do you really love me? And it's like, and how could you say that like someone who loves acting or singing is loving God? Well, because God is everything that is true.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like it's everything that's real. And even if the art form is a bit warped by the warped person that the person is, it's like if they love the transcendent thing, the little glimmer of light that comes in that moment of being true or authentic or whatever, then it's like they're loving God even if they don't know it yet.
Yes.
You
That's
know?
right. And God will send another tomato maker, somebody from California, to come into your town, and you've been winning that ribbon
Yeah.
every year. And Jesus says, I got to send my servant who grows tomatoes twice as big, twice as luscious, or whatever they are. And you have God to thank for that, because he's like, I got to strip you of that. And then so you can discover, oh, well, I gave up tomatoes for 5 years. And then I was like, I love the smell of tomatoes. And you start
Yeah.
and you start,
Yes.
you stop caring. You're like, oh, good, I got 5th place. I don't care. But what I do like is the county fair and the people I met. And
Yes.
you rediscover these things that were part of that, but they but the ribbon just went by the wayside. No, it's the friendships I have. It's smelling tomatoes. I'm putting fingers in the dirt, and yeah, and then God approves that because it's something that's in the shadows, in the infinite, because we have the carnals right there. We can say what it is, but sometimes the things that are appreciated um, go unappreciated because they're infinite things. They're in they're in the recess, and you don't miss them until it's done. And so rock and roll stars, sometimes when they get old, they'll realize, like the Rolling Stones, you fight and fight because you got all these girls you're fighting over, and jealousies. They get old enough, they're just beat. And then, you know what? They just like hanging out with guys. I mean, there's just like a bunch of old guys, and it gives us something to do. And because I just read that they don't fight anymore. They just like, don't have energy for fighting. And so that's one of the things God does by giving us old age is stop fighting this, and so you can return to your childhood where I don't have to be the fastest on the bike. I can just ride the bike and feel the wind in my hair until I can't, and so that's how I view the last third of my life, is a return to childhood. What are those things that I like doing? And I liked being in the water, so let's swim. And when I started swimming, I recently when Jesus bought me a pass, I'm like, well, I'm here to exercise. And Jesus said, slow down, Greg. No, just flop around. And I'm just like, I see what you're saying. Just kind of, and so stop the exercise. It's like, this is not about you becoming an Olympian or you having a good body. This is about you connecting with me. And so it was a turning point in my
That's
swimming.
perfect.
yeah. And then later, of course, he said, now swim hard. And so I do these laps, but he wanted me to approach it differently than I would, or because some people can't enjoy things unless they're knocking out,
Right.
oh,
Yeah.
how am I doing? Am I losing weight? Am I increasing my times? And those aren't bad things. That's what, like we're acknowledging. But I was seeking more Jesus. He's like, well, you're seeking the things that are less obvious. And that's exactly
Right.
right. My kingdom. And so now I'll watch the shining of the light. It's mesmerizing down on the bottom of the pool as the light comes in. And I'm doing some weird thing with my mind, and Jesus, like, wow, that's pretty, like some little kid would, that's just pretty. So I slowed down enough that it's a meditative state, because that's what a
Right.
big portion of the kingdom of God is, a meditative state. It's a prayerful
Yes.
meditation, or a meditation using your gifts. So yeah.
Well, I'm going to put in a shameless plug for something I wrote really fast before we move
Cool.
on.
Yeah.
So I wrote a story. It's the only story I've ever been able to finish. And it came like a birth. It was like, oh, I gotta write this. Don't get in my way. I gotta do this.
I
You
will
know.
do this or
And,
die.
and it was like, it took me like 10 days. It was like the first 3 days I thought I was in transition, It was like, you know, um, like this baby coming out. And it was like,
Yeah.
but anyways, I wrote this story called oh goodness. I think the latest thing I've called it was over, over a cosmic apocalypse. So you can download it on my website. I haven't got it up on Amazon, so I can't make any money
Oh,
off of it.
darn it.
But it's so short. It's so short. And there's a section like if you click on books and more, and then you click on free content or something like that, it's in there, and it's called A Cosmic Apocalypse, or Over a Cosmic Apocalypse. But it talks about this very thing, the idea that there's a day we're entering into, and it's written in a fictional form, like a guy who lives on a remote planet. And a spirit comes and tells him like it's over, it's over. And it's like, and he goes about gathering like every sentient being in the universe, all those who are interested in not in the thing not in the thing that was just for profit, but those who desire the real truth, and they're willing to walk away from the fictions of their lives. So anybody watching this can go download
Yeah.
it, read it.
Um,
I can write some more. Go ahead if you have a comment about it.
no, I like it. Lyman
Okay.
Compton will probably be interested in that. He loves literature, but I'd like to too. So I'll just see what
I sent him a copy with that
Oh, did you?
envelope I
Good.
sent. So yeah, I sent you one too. But I think you already listened to it on YouTube. It's on YouTube too, on my channel. So
Excellent.
the Trackless Path, that's my channel. All right, so let's see. All right. So do we know whether so only when we're thrown upon the naked hand of providence do we know whether our peace was eternal rest or carnal security. Likely both, and only through pain can the lesser peace be sifted out, till nothing but that peace which surpasses understanding remains. And as for love, God's love is no less elusive, for only in betrayal do we discover whether our love remains when theirs dissolves. For there is but one peace, one hope, and one love that is eternal. Well, and before I go into that, so let's make it just a couple comments, even if they're quick, about love. Any thoughts about
Well, I
betrayal
like how
and
your poem shifted. There was a shift there from carnal security, but it's the right segue. Um, uh, as for love, God's love is no less effusive than this peace that we seek. So I like that shift. Introduces a new element to the poem. And what did I saw there? Just the sifting out. I sense that as well. That we're not at a perfect state. That as carnal beings, as mortal beings, will always be a mixture. So
yeah.
even though I can say, I'm no longer interested in carnal security. Well, that's kind of a lie. Are you immortal? Yeah, I'm a sheep. Well, then you do like carnal security.
Yeah.
Learning how to like it better and better, um, in other words, a more holy way, um,
Yeah.
is probably your thing, Greg. And so I'm working on it, but I have to have Jesus do what you're just talking about, it through pain. And I like that you introduced that. So you have love and pain introduced, and like, yeah, pain has a place. So yeah, go on.
Well, and I think I'll save much of this for another. I have other poems which go more deeply into love, um, but but it came into my mind as I was writing this poem because it seemed like it so went alongside, um, you know, uh, one because it's you would think it's just being stripped of money. It's like, it's like, oh, okay, well, I've been poor, but it's like one of the things that you can be poor in many ways. It's like you can you can you can love and not be loved. Everybody knows what it's like to have unrequited love.
Yes.
It's like, or to feel betrayed. And it's like, and you end up discovering that there's a part of like our relationship with our friends or with our spouse or with our children. There's a part of that relationship which is godly, which is infinite. It's the sort of thing that is willing to sacrifice for that person and is willing to suffer, right?
Yes.
So we have that part of our relationship, but man, when we enter into times where that other person, it feels like, has committed a betrayal, or they do something that deeply hurts us, um, and it's like maybe you fall down and the person you're expecting to pick you up, they kick you while you're down.
Yeah,
They're
right.
just mad that you fell down. And
Right.
it's like, I'm down, can't you help me? Or maybe that person, who you expected would be able to stand there and be by your side. It's like they betray you because they have certain faults that just come up from their childhood, and it ends up dragging them into a place that they get stuck in, and now, it's like they're not even the same person that you thought they were. And the question is it's like, that's why I think I love the the idea of marriage. And I say the idea because, it's like in the idea of family, that's where I go closer. It's like it's amazing to me that God includes me in his family, because, it's like I'm not his earthbound son. And that is like incomprehensible.
Yeah.
How does he love me like a son when I'm not his earthbound son? And it's like, um, and so you start to realize it's like, and sometimes when our heartstrings are torn, we realize that it's like, well, I love this person, but there was a part of my love that loved them for the thing it gave me.
Yes.
Does
Yeah.
that make sense? Like,
Sure.
I love them because they loved me. And that's why we like, there's marriage, and then there's marriage. It's like there's the marriage where it's like, okay, we're making vows, and I vow to be good to you. Now I'm waiting. What are you going to say? And well, you better make a vow, and I better approve. See, it's
Yeah.
like I'll love you so long as, it's just like, but then there's like a higher love, which is like I am gonna love you even when you hang me on that cross
Right.
and
Yeah.
crucify me. Like
That's right.
I am not gonna give up on you. And it's like we want that kind of love, but that love comes through pain. Looked like you were gonna say something. Were you gonna say something to that, or?
No, I just scratched my beard, but I can say that the enemies within, that
Yeah.
no, some of us have enemies without. That's, and I'm sure I'll have my share as a Jesus street preacher. But our daily enemy is usually people that are close to us and love us, and then are expecting stuff from us, as they should.
Yeah.
But they're expecting something of a flawed individual, which irritates them. Well, you're a grown adult. I know, and it goes, not just between me and my wife, but between my wife and myself. Because truth is, sometimes we're not under pressure. We can be grumpy. We can be base. We can be all kinds of different things, and hence then we become, our carnal selves are not just an enemy to God, but we become an enemy to others, and that That's the natural way, and we have to deal with it. And I think you were saying about family, you like family because it puts us in that environment, right? That's where we have to deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so read on. Um, oh, and the path to obtaining it, this one peace, one hope, one love, is a winding upward road to a hill of a tailor-made Golgotha, tailor-made for each of us. And isn't it terrible? Well, so I think we've touched on that, that it's that pain is what refines us. And then I'll read some more. So, and isn't it terrible to say it outright like that? I feel as if I've broken with some unspoken societal contract. And isn't that, so I shall stop there for a second. Just, um, I've had this a few times when I write something, I kind of feel like it's like I'm saying something outright that we've all kind of agreed not to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's like don't tell me that, you know, that my relationships with my family and that my, you know, my relationship with the world and with money and with, you know, carnal security, don't tell me um that it's not okay. And I feel like in a way, like by saying this outright, saying that like we're only going to get to these higher principles through pain is like I'm raining on everybody's parade.
That's right. It's like when I gave my testimony at church, what Jesus, I was giving it from my heart. I said, church is boring. I've always found it to be boring. Now, what I'm doing is making the obvious inescapable.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of want to escape it, because I could have said, how many of you want to spend another 3 hours? So we're doing 3-hour blocks back then. How would you like to spend another 3 hours? No, you've pretty much had enough, haven't you? Yeah, in fact, if you end early. And so there's an underlying thing that church is boring is like, I'm saying a blunt thing, but you know what? Filling up your car with gas is boring. Life is freaking boring. It's, to use another term, mundane. We're stuck in a mundane reality. So you could be a prisoner in Gunnison prison or up at Draper. Being a prisoner is boring. Well, duh. You know, so what we got to do is do the best we can. Let's work out. Let's read some books. And so that, but I was speaking from my heart because I did not like who I've been at church. I'm getting better now because I asked God, like, I do not like who I am at church, because who I should be is go to church and have the sacrament, have my heart broken, and just like have the flood of the Holy Spirit just light me on fire. Woo, and learn new things. And it's going to be, whoa, oh, this is better than Disneyland. This is better than anything I can think of. My Super Bowl, you know, whatever it is. It's like, but it's not that. No, it's not that. Well, what's this like? I don't know. I did some ranch work when I was growing up, you know, bucking bales. Some of it's like that. Oh, come on, it's got to be better than that. Well, no, farmers, they'll go, oh, I love, you know, putting up hay. Well, I did it. You know, I can look at it romantically, but hay coming in your face and you're getting paid $2.50 an
I
hour
know it's
for such hard work. It's like, nah, if we liked that, we would go do that. Just like if we liked dancing. Oh, dancing's so fun. I had to, well, turn on the radio and dance. Oh, okay, well. And so these blunt truths about our lives, and they're commingled, because I actually do like dancing, and Jesus says you'll be dancing more. So that's cool. Not spastically, or maybe he will. My point being is those blunt truths are part of who I am. So I like it. I like, yeah, oh, sorry, gotta rock the boat here. You started your poem. Yep, I know you don't like to hear these things.
and it's like you said, if anybody's gotten this far, it's like they're past that. It's like,
That's right.
like they're okay with it, you know.
Yeah, that's
so.
right. We've already filtered them out, or Jesus has. You got that right.
All right. So broken with some unspoken societal contract, but isn't that what we always said we wanted when we sang? Now, this isn't an LDS, Cam. You and I came from a Mormon background.
Yeah.
But this is a hymn I found, which I really liked, which goes, I have decided to follow Jesus, the world behind me, the cross before me, no turning back, no turning back. I found that oftentimes we don't think what these songs mean or the things that we say. I tend to pay attention to like words. I probably because that's what this is the one thing I'm kind of I'm realizing I should say Jesus is good at, and he uses me as an instrument for.
Yep. That's the
but
right language.
but is words, and so it's like I listen to what people say, and like people don't listen to what they say. It's like the cross before me, the world behind me. It's like no turning back, no turning back. So wait a minute. So we're all headed, and we say
Yeah.
we want to follow Jesus. Well, we follow Jesus to a cross.
That's right. Give me that
Right?
yoke, that of freedom. Well, that yoke is a cross. Okay. Well, just a second here. Yeah. No, I like it, Jonathan. I like that, and I like how you drew it out, because I was actually missing that as well. Oh, the cross, that's Jesus. Well, the cross is actually what Jesus was put on. Boom.
Well, can I enter? Sorry,
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
finish, and then I'll go ahead.
No, that's all I had.
No, I was just gonna say, like, that's the one thing that this may be the dividing line. I wonder if between what the movement that's happening right now, whatever it is, this odd thing that's happening with all sorts of people, and the people who have become religious in an outward sense, because it's like I listen far more. I watch what people do, and I listen to the spirit that they carry much more than I listen to the words they say.
Right.
I was just talking about words, like I listen to the words. I do listen to the words, but what I found is it's like I found so many people who, they'll thump their Bible or their Book of Mormon or whatever it is, you know, and they'll talk about these things, but in many instances they're not on a journey.
Yeah.
It's like they're not going anywhere.
Yeah,
And I'm not trying.
they're talking about a journey. Yeah,
Yes.
but they're and the place you say, they'd say, well, where am I supposed to go? Flee Babylon. How? That you would have to ask Jesus, because that's a very individual, and that's where you start talking about the path. And
Yes.
and the truth is, they are on the path. Everybody's on the path, but you can get in a stuck path. That's where we call comfortably numb. And so Jesus just has you comfortably numb. And until you recognize the hell that is, you're probably going to be stuck. And the prophets have given words to that. All is well in Zion. Yea, Zion prospereth, all is well. And so you're stuck in wellness. It's lukewarm. So Jesus doesn't allow you to be like, whoo, I'm on fire. You can pretend like you're on fire, but you're lukewarm. And that's a place where the devil likes you, just kind of like comfortably numb, because God likes you cold. Oh, I'm going to die. I'm so cold. Oh, what you looking for? More light. Or you're on fire. I have the light. And so he'll spew you out of his mouth, and there's where you'll stay. So it's true. And it's kind of what the training Jesus has given me, that, and I'll tell you this, and I'll end with this, is he's been emphasizing to me, this is an Eagles song, don't let the sound of your own wheels drive you crazy, right? And so people can use their own wheels to drive them crazy. You were talking about wheels earlier, but you can use your own wheels. You can create wheels or systems that get you on fire. You can create the conditions under which your spirit will get a song going inside of it. Scriptures call it a song of redemption. Can you feel so now? Because if you've ever felt to sing the song of redeeming love, I ask, do you feel so now? And if you say, well, I don't, then I would say, what are you doing to stir that water up? Because that's what Jesus has told me. He goes, Greg, help me help you. I was like, well, why don't you just help me, Jesus? No, you help me help you. Oh, so we're going to help Greg. So I'm going to be a party to helping Greg. Yes. And that's called self-reinforcement. So that's really like, why are you doing this Jesus TV thing with Jonathan? Self-reinforcement. We talk of Christ, we preach of Christ. Oh, you're trying to stir yourself up. Yeah. And that's what Jesus says to do. You can stir yourself up with the word of God, or here's one of the things you can do is just go binge watch something that Babylon's made. Oh, it can be exciting. It'll make you numb. It's designed to not stir, because once you catch fire, you are not programmable. You'll start going off into places where they can't monetize that. You're like, well, I'm going to go on a trip. Oh, well, hold it. We haven't told you about what's available. I don't need anything like that. I'm just going on a trip, and you can't monetize that. Settle down, settle down. Everybody settle down. We're all going to do the same work. And so settle down is kind of the opposite of the fire, but it kind of leaves you not stirred up inside. So that, and that's what a good doctrine should do. So like your poem, it can provoke, like, hey, I'm going to point something out. That's the cross. And that's a little scary, like, but it's the truth too. And then these people who've been avoiding the pain, they know they've got a choice. You go, that's Jesus. So today I did this Jesus shower is what I do. And I turn on the hot water, and it hits me, the first water that comes out, it's not hot, because I don't have automatic hot water. It's cold. And today it was cold for like 2 minutes. I'm showering in there, singing my Jesus song, and my carnal self doesn't want this. I knew when I was getting the shower, I'm like, it doesn't matter. Today, the spirit, the flesh may be weak, but the spirit's going to rule. So I turn on that shower, sing my Jesus song. And I do so to stir myself up towards Jesus. What song am I singing? Jesus song. But I'm also viscerally confirming what your poem's talking about, that I am going to leave the world behind me. You know, the old ways of taking a shower. No, I'm done with that. Okay. Well, what you usually do in the world is you wait till it warms up, then it's comfortable. And why would you go do that uncomfortable? It's 2 minutes, and it's a reminder of how much I will leave behind, how much Jesus I'll leave behind by trying to avoid pain, that he might call me to do something like he did yesterday. I did some handyman stuff. Yeah, it was kind of painful. I woke up with sore joints because I was helping a 72-year-old woman that he entangled me with. Says, hey, go do some work for this woman. She's doing the tiller work. But I was doing that work for Jesus, you know, and I told the woman that, you know, just like, no, Jesus entangled us, because another friend who he had me minister to was down at the spring down in Spring City, and he wasn't going to come, but he comes, and then here comes this woman. Oh, she's got a gas can, and I could see Jesus written all over it. I'm just like, oh, I see what you want me to do. And that's why I asked her. I wasn't going to enforce that, but those pains then become part of the Jesus experience. I'm like, oh, this makes sense. So when I woke up this morning, I knew where that pain came from, but that was like the pain of working out in the gym. Oh, that's good pain. Why? That's Jesus pain. I mean, that's a 59-year-old body, but then you start associating pain with the sacrifice that you're making to get more Jesus. And that reinforces, just like a bodybuilder. Oh, ow, oh, I hurt so bad. Oh, that's so good. Because they associate that with, I'm making progress, and then there's hope. And so, you know, it could go too far. You could say, I'm going to get a whip and whip myself in the name of Jesus. Well, if Jesus tells you to do that, do that. But he doesn't tell me. He goes, no, I'll do all that. You don't need to create more pain for yourself, Greg. I'll be bringing that. So anyhow, there's a recent pain-related thing, but it's a lot of my experience with God. So I'll just confirm a lot of the things I have to do with him are painful, psychologically painful, emotionally painful, take physical, but they're redeemed in Christ. I lost Jonathan. Jonathan, are you there? Jesus pulled the plug on me, I'm afraid. Come on, Jonathan. Hit the share the screen. I'm sharing it. Okay. I'm on, Jonathan. We've got bedtime on Jesus TV. Oh no. Oh no. We're going to lose our one. Let's see if Jonathan's going to come back. Hey, I'm still on. Use the link and see if you can come back. Period. Jesus unplugged me because I was going too long, I think. And I don't know. I trust that he can do that. He's had to do that many times. So yeah. What's it like, Jesus, to have to work with a dirty, filthy, rotten, hard-hearted, hopeful sinner like me? Oh, good. He says it's good. Yeah. Well, good. It's hard for me. Wish I was less dirty, less filthy, less rotten, less hard-hearted. Well, we may have to wrap up this episode without Jonathan. Let's see. See if I had anything more to say there. I decided to follow Jesus, the world behind me, the cross before me. No turning back. No turning back. I like that. I'd like to know what that song is. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap it up. This has been episode 4 of Poetry and Prophecy. Prophecy and poetry. I can't remember, but either way, you get the picture. www.getmorejesus.com. And we'll be doing more of these episodes, God willing, and I think He is willing. I'm grateful for them. God is with you till we meet again.